Hey guys, so today I'm going to be making another ranking video, and this one is going to be based on my top 15 favorite Super Nintendo JRPGs that never got an official translation in the West. And yeah, this is kind of like a specific list, but you know, I play a lot of RPGs in my channel, a lot of JRPGs, and recently I played a lot of these Japan-only JRPGs that only recently got like a fan translation, or just they have a fan translation, but they've never been officially brought over to the West. So again, this is going to be a list that's consisting of JRPGs that only have a fan translation, okay? So recently, actually, we've seen some companies like Square Enix, they actually brought over previously games that were not released officially in the West before, like Trials of Mana, or Seiken Densetsu 3 is another name for that. Live Alive got a remake and released in the West. They actually brought over Star Ocean 1, I think, to the PSP. So that actually got a translation a while ago. You got all the 6 Final Fantasies, right? Because Final Fantasy 2, 3, and 5 were never officially released in the West until later, but you have them access to all those now. Romancing Saga, you have access to all the Romancing Saga now. So these days you've gotten a lot more RPGs over here that previously were not translated, and that's a great thing. However, there's still a lot of remaining JRPGs that have still never been brought over to the West. So that's basically what this list is going to be about. It's going to be about what I consider the hidden gems. The real hidden gems are the ones that Western gamers mostly don't really know about because they're not really officially available here, right? So yeah, these are the ones that you pretty much have to play on emulators because there's, well, if you're in the West, right, if you can't speak or read Japanese, then you had to play them on emulators because they only have fan translations available for now. So yeah, this is going to be my list of top 15 of my favorite Super Nintendo JRPGs that only have a fan translation available for now. And I picked Super Nintendo because I love Super Nintendo. It's one of my favorite consoles, and it's just full of JRPGs. And the thing is, I believe in North America, we only got like half of them. Like half or even more than half of JRPGs, they never came over officially to North America. So there's a lot of hidden gems when it comes to JRPGs for the Super Nintendo. Like during this era, JRPGs were kind of like yeah, or RPGs, I would say, is kind of like a niche genre. So it wasn't really, a lot of them just weren't translated. Companies just didn't want to take the risk to translate them at the time because, yeah, I would say JRPGs were not popular in the West until Final Fantasy VII. So Super Nintendo era, you have a lot of JRPGs that were just in Japan only. So anyways, this list is going to be for you guys who love JRPGs and who want to check something out that you might not have heard of. And yeah, all these games have fan translations online. You can pick them up on CD Romance. That's where I picked them up. And yeah, it's going to be my top 15. So right, stay tuned. So I do want to add some games that originally I didn't have on my list. Is she here? I played these games actually a little bit after I made my list, and I do want to just mention them because I do like these games. Oh, now she's here. 2 honorable mentions I have to mention. Waiting. One is Tenshi no Uda, Song of the Angel, and this game is like, I would say gameplay-wise, she's looking forward to standard fare for JRPG. I'm looking forward to seeing her too. But I do like that. Yeah, I do like the central love story here. Right, so it's the main guy falls in love with this girl who sings a beautiful song, and she's part of this traveling troupe of performers. She gets kidnapped and everything. You have to rescue her. It's a pretty standard like love story type of thing, and I don't know. I wouldn't say like this game like stands out in terms of like innovation in terms of story or combat or anything, but I just like how charming and wholehearted it is. So I think that's what really kept me interested in this one. Just the story progresses pretty fast. The pacing is good, and yeah, there's just a lot of heart in the story here because you can tell, right, the main character just loves this girl right off from the bat, really. So there's no like, you know, some games have a very slow build-up. This game doesn't really have a slow build-up because just right from the bat, you know, off the bat, you know that this character loves the main girl. And he's willing to do anything really to rescue her, and then once you do rescue her, you know, she becomes part of your party and everything. And yeah, it just kept me interested enough to keep playing. So I do think that Tenshi no Uda, Song of the Angel, does deserve a mention here. Yeah, again, graphics wise, nothing too special. Combat wise, it's the Dragon Quest style. Too many. But yeah, just the story is very wholesome and charming, I think. So, anyways, just want to mention this game as well, and definitely I think it's worth checking out at least. So there's another game I have to mention. Actually, this game should probably be on this list. It's just that I got to this game a little bit later.
Let's hear.
So now I just have to mention it. But this is Adventures of Harai High Transfer Student Drama Bomb.
Japanese style.
So this is it's a pretty interesting RPG, I'd say, and I posted it in my Facebook group, and a lot of people wanted to compare it to Earthbound.
How much
I don't think it's like it's got like making some elements.
Wow,
from Earthbound. I think
vending machine.
the main like similarity to Earthbound would be that they're both quirky,
vending machine
and they're both like more or less taking place in a modern era. But that's pretty much the similarities. Not too much similarities to Earthbound. Just people see quirky RPG for the Super Nintendo, they automatically think there's a connection to Earthbound or something.
I had money, I would get it.
But anyways, yeah, I have to mention this game because I do like it a lot. I do like the setting, right? The modern setting here that's taking place in this giant ass high school that's full of students, and you can recruit other students to be your party members, and you fight other students and other like just like crazy, not just monsters. They're like people, right? But they're like quirky people, right? So yeah, it's really quirky and fun and weird, and I do love it for that.
Only a little younger, yeah.
Yeah, I do think that Adventures of Harai High belongs on here. I think one of the main attractions of this game, gameplay-wise, is you can join a whole bunch of clubs in this game. So I think there's like
out of the baseball club.
There's over 9 clubs you can join this. There's a whole bunch of clubs actually, maybe more than 9. Yeah,
one of the few proper clubs.
There's a whole bunch of clubs you can join, and each club is essentially like a job class.
So
it's kind of similar to Final Fantasy V in that sense, because Final Fantasy V is known for the job classes, right? So yeah, you can join a whole bunch of clubs in this game, and which are pretty much just like job classes. You can choose 3 of them, I think. But there's there's a whole bunch of clubs you can join, and you can play around with it. It has a lot of replayability because of that. But yeah, because of these different clubs you can join, the high school setting, which is really unique,
stay alert,
and then just being able to like battle other students and stuff, and kind of this setting is, yeah, it's interesting. So I do have to mention it. So the battle system is like this. Yeah, right. I can see why some people think it might be like Earthbound, but yeah, it definitely has that quirkiness to it.
Apologize, the enemy left the party. That's the same thing as fleeing, I see.
Yeah, and you attack like teachers and other students and stuff. So anyways, combat system. Yeah, I like how it says absent here when you don't have a party member in that slot. Like a student, basically, because your other party members are students. But yeah, I do have to mention Adventures of Harai High. I think this game would have been in my list had I played it a bit earlier, but I just got to this one later. That's why. But it would have been, on my list somewhere in my top 15. But I do have to mention it. Alas, got to this one a little bit later. But I highly recommend people check it out if you guys like these quirky RPGs with the modern feel. The encounter rate is pretty high in this one, but that's just the case for a lot of old school SNES RPGs. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I have to mention this one. I did enjoy my time playing with this one a lot. Alright, so number 15 on my list is going to be Emerald Dragon, which I played quite recently, actually. So this game I think is pretty cool in some ways. I wouldn't say it's actually not the most original game on here, because the story more or less is fairly conventional. It's about saving the world from the demon army and stuff like that. Awakening an ancient dragon to help beat the ancient evil. So that means the story's not like that out there. But I have to say that what's interesting about this game is the fact that you play as a dragon. And you actually become human in order to fight alongside humans to save their world. So that's actually pretty cool. The fact that dragons are not the bad guy here, you're actually the good guy, or the main character actually. And also the combat system is pretty unique in this game. So this one, if you guys look at the, so in this game, this sequence he actually does transform into a dragon here, and yeah, but he can only sustain his dragon form for a small little while. But I think what's also unique about this game is the combat system here. So it's like tactical, but not really.
Whoa.
It's like you don't have a grid like other tactical RPGs, but you do have like a action meter, and that action meter decreases as you move across the field and as you do actions like attacking or using items and stuff. This action meter decreases. So that's a very interesting way of doing this tactical turn-based tactical type of combat. So yeah, it's, like most tactical turn-based RPGs, right? They use the grid system like Final Fantasy Tactics or even Fire Emblem. But yeah, in this game, the fact is like you have this action meter which decreases as you do things. So I think that's pretty unique.
I'm not gonna just.
But anyways, cool game. You do have some cool characters in it. You get to play as a dragon, like I said. So that part's cool, and you have that cool combat system. And good graphics, as you would expect from a more late era SNES game. So 1995. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna have to put Emerald Dragon as my number 15. So pretty solid RPG here. Alright, so my number 14 pick is going to be Fada, the Emblem of Justice, and this game is came out in 1994 for Super Nintendo. It's a tactical RPG. It actually reminds me the most of Shining Force, and I think actually maybe one of the devs of Shining Force, or some of the devs of Shining Force may have worked on this game, because they actually reference Shining Force in this one. But Shining Force is a Sega property, right? So this is exclusively for Super Nintendo, so I guess whatever developers were behind this game, they wanted to kind of have a Shining Force type of game on a Super Nintendo instead. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. It's overall pretty solid. So if we look at the combat here, you guys can see the combat is pretty similar. It's a tactical RPG. So you have the grid-based tiles and everything, and turn-based, and yeah, it has these screens right here. You see these attack animations. It's very similar to Shining Force. So yeah, if you guys like Shining Force, then I do recommend this game, Fada Emblem of Justice. Check it out. Yeah, it's basically like Shining Force, but for Super Nintendo. It's like, I think it has similar, maybe some of the same developers, who are definitely very heavily inspired by Shining Force for sure. So yeah, I think they just want to make kind of a Shining Force version, but on Super Nintendo. But it's its own thing. It has its own story and everything. Has these yeah, Shining Force type of animations, which look really nice. So overall, I did enjoy this game, Fada Emblem of Justice. I think it's definitely well-deserved of a RPG that people should check out. So anyways, that's number 14 on my list. Alright, so number 13 on my list is Shin Megami Tensei 2, released in 1994 for the Super Nintendo. Part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. Actually, the first three Super Shin Megami Tensei games, which is Shin Megami Tensei 1, 2, and If, were never released in English officially. But yeah, you can pick up fan translations for all these online. I find these older Shin Megami Tensei games very interesting, because they're definitely more pure dungeon crawler RPGs. Like you have like a first person perspective view, like you do in some of the old school like Western RPGs back then. You know, like Eye of the Beholder and Might and Magic and stuff. You have this first person view. And it's like a dungeon crawler RPG. So yeah, you go to different rooms, you talk to people, and then also you move around in this kind of a world map right here. So that's what it looks like. And actually you see that in subsequent Shin Megami Tensei games too. But when it comes to the actual perspective, right, it's just the 3D first-person dungeon crawler view perspective, and you might run into some monsters and stuff. And of course, it's got some pretty insane-looking monsters and a crazy story as well, as you would expect from Shin Megami Tensei. So yeah, for you guys who are fans of Shin Megami Tensei, definitely check out number 2. And IF as well. IF is also, like, they came out in the same year, I think. But yeah, IF and 2 are both good. But yeah, you see this, I think this is interesting because the newer Shin Megami Tensei games, like, they're not like this first-person dungeon crawler view at all. So I just find Shin Megami Tensei 2 pretty interesting to check out. 2 and IF are both cool. I guess I just, I recommend 2 over it, but IF is still pretty good too. And yeah, you have this, you'll have your party here, and I think, yeah, this is what you have an auto battle option as well. But yeah, you have this first-person dungeon crawler RPG view, which is really interesting. You don't really see that in subsequent or newer Shin Megami Tensei games. Newer Shin Megami Tensei games play more like Persona more than anything, because I guess Persona is just so influential nowadays. But yeah, originally it was Shin Megami Tensei. Persona used to be just a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. But yeah, check out number 2. Never really came out in the West, unfortunately. But you can just pick up the fan translation that's available. And yeah, I recommend it for fans of dungeon crawler RPGs. Alright, so number 12 is Laplace's Demon, which was released in 1995 for the Super Nintendo. Very interesting setting for this game. And yeah, this JRPG, it takes place in, well, actually, it's based upon the Lovecraftian
Whoa.
horror novels
Banshees.
that were in the 1920s. So you actually,
It says
the
if I
setting
hold
is like the
hands to make them
1920s,
angry.
East Coast, Massachusetts, that area, because that's where the Lovecraftian horror stories take place. And you're like exploring these haunted mansions and stuff, and you fight these horror creatures, ghostly monsters. Like here, I'm fighting a banshee. So overall, just really cool monsters and really cool setting. Right, I bet many people don't know that like an RPG like this exists on the Super Nintendo. But yeah, it's like you explore some haunted mansions, you run into some like really cool horror monsters and stuff, and you have the whole Lovecraftian setting going on. So yeah, overall, very, very cool RPG.
Sexual predator.
So here you have using like some kind
Can't
of
do that for women.
psychic powers against this ghoul, I think.
File a lawsuit against you.
Yeah.
Try to grab me again.
It's very, very cool, and you have like investigative settings as well, so you can just oh my god, see this crazy looking monsters, right? So overall, I think it's worth checking out. It's definitely not the most polished RPG, I'd say. But in terms of the setting and the monster design and everything, very cool, very interesting JRPG.
You think it's a weapon, but it's
anyways, Laplace's Demon.
Why does it have two string
definitely check
themes,
this one
though? I
out.
don't understand.
1995 for the Super Nintendo. Yeah, who knew there's a Lovecraftian horror RPG for the SNES?
I don't understand. So I
right?
got
But
two strange beams.
Alright, so
Wow.
number 11 is going to be Dark Half.
Not many JRPGs
This
where
is
you
also a
just,
really
like,
cool
turn the-
RPG, came out in 1996.
Turn NPCs into skeletons like that.
What's cool about
Wow.
this one is you get to play as both a good guy and a bad guy. So here I'm actually playing as the bad guy, who's kind of the ancient evil that's
Show
going to
that
take
stuff.
over the world. You know, in most JRPGs, like you're trying
Oh,
to
the
fight
cat
the
is
ancient
the-
evil, right? This game,
it's
you're
show
playing
that.
as the ancient evil, and
the
I mean, just this, it's crazy. I'm in this town right here, and yeah, like I'm about to like kill these children and stuff. I actually spare these children, but if you see later on,
Oh, okay.
I think I go on to this area here, right?
Deep.
So it's like I talk to this guy, this old man, for example.
Hey, son,
Hey,
where
where
you
you
from?
from? I ain't seen you around here
you around
before. And then I just
Oh,
disintegrate him and turn
God.
into dust. Like, wow, how many
Yeah,
JRPGs
amazing.
you see like from this time,
Turning
especially like.
innocent people into ash. Be gone. Oh.
I just like completely turn everyone in the village to dust. Like, man, that's crazy. Like,
Oh,
just
let's
playing
see what
as
we can do
a
there.
bad
Possibly.
guy. I mean, that's something that's a bit different about this JRPG.
Oh.
As actual gameplay wise and stuff, it's not like too different,
make
but it's
it
just
famous.
the novelty of being a badass. Like you're basically the bad guy. You're just like disintegrating people in this town here. I mean, it's
Very
eerie.
well.
Like, look at that. I just turn everyone into skeletons here. Like people are at the
What do you
bar
have?
and stuff like that. You normally talk to in RPGs. The combat system's interesting. It's this isometric view. It's actually kind of tactical as well. So yeah, you're in this view, and then I actually have my own monsters come fight for me. So you control your own monsters who are fighting on behalf of you. Yeah, and you're the bad guy. You're trying to take over the world. I mean, that's actually you're trying to find the paladin in this sequence here. But very, very cool premise. Don't see that a lot in JRPGs. So anyways, very, very cool. Dark Half. All right, so number 10 is going to be Sailor Moon: Another Story, which came out in 1995, and yeah, some people may not know that there was a Sailor Moon RPG on the Super Nintendo, and it was pretty good actually. It's actually done well, has all the Sailor Scouts, all the way up to Sailor Saturn. It has all the Sailor Scouts here, and done really well, I think. It's got a good story. The characters are true to how they are in the manga and anime, I think, and I mean, look, here they all transform and stuff.
Time.
I think this is it's a good RPG to pick up, not only if you're a Sailor Moon fan, but just if you're an RPG fan in general. I think it's just a pretty solid JRPG. Now, why it didn't come out in the West? I think Sailor Moon was pretty popular in the West. Just maybe didn't have time to translate it, or by this time it's already kind of late in the Super Nintendo cycle. So maybe they decided not to.
I guess it's the era of.
But yeah, again, it's also due to the fact that RPGs were still not that popular in America at that time.
That's the common out here.
But yeah, very solid Sailor Moon game and very solid RPG game. This is Final Fantasy style side view turn-based combat, as you guys can see. The random encounters are a little bit annoying, I believe, on this one, so there's definitely a high rate of encounter, but I think there's some patches that actually fix this as well. But I mean, that's just the case with older JRPGs. It's just like you get a lot of random encounters. The encounter rate's often high on these older games, in these older RPGs.
Yeah, in the first
But
seasons.
yeah,
First
overall,
three
I like the
seasons.
story. The characters are pretty true to what they are in the series, and It's got the Final Fantasy type combat system, so you can't go wrong with that. So overall, I recommend it. I mean, Sailor Moon says not just for Sailor Moon fans. I mean, of course, it's a great Sailor Moon game, but I just recommend it to JRPG fans in general. It's a nice RPG. So, anyway, Sailor Moon, another story. Be sure to check this one out. Definitely. I don't know why. I mean, they could re-release this one. So maybe we're just waiting for a re-release of this one sometime. I'm sure it'll do well. But anyways, just pick out the fan translation for this one online if you want to play it. Alright, so number 9 is going to be Metal Max Returns. Came out in 1995 as well. What's cool about this game is it's set in the post-apocalyptic setting. So as the name might imply, I think it's inspired by Mad Max, obviously. But yeah, Metal Max. Yeah, this one is, I mean, it's cool because you can actually fight as both a human and a tank, because you can actually go inside tanks as well. And the monsters, I mean, look at this. This is a caterpillar with a chain gun attached to the head. I mean, some crazy-ass looking monsters in this game. So I also really love the monster design in this one. So cool monster design. I think this one, yeah, you have, listen, it's a dog with a rocket launcher on its back. I mean, cool, right? So cool. The enemy design is awesome in this game, and also the fact that you can both play as a tank and as a regular human. So that's a really cool thing as well. You can actually get into different tanks and stuff and upgrade your tanks. Like here, I think I just take this tank right here, and there we go. So I just roam around as this tank.
Yeah, it's funny that the tanks look just as big as you.
And yeah, the tanks look pretty much just like faster versions of the human sprites. But yeah, now you can just like play as the tank, you can fight as the tank, you can get out of the tank, and you can go back to just playing as a normal person. I mean, just a cool setting, and some cool mechanics in this game. So yeah, another game that we didn't get over here in America, but do recommend it as well. So Metal Max Returns is going to be my number 9 slot here. Yeah, definitely check this one out too. Alright, so number 8 on my list is God, Heed the Call to Awaken. Right, so number 8 on my list is going to be God, or God, Heed the Call to Awaken, which came out in 1996. This game, it's interesting, like the beginning kind of starts off kind of like Earthbound actually, and you get teleported into basically the future. So it's it's pretty interesting. So yeah, you start off as this kid, and just like in Earthbound, you have kind of a more contemporary setting. Like you have the hat and baseball bat and things like that. But then later on, you get transported to the future, you have to fight aliens. So that whole setting is pretty cool. I'm always in favor of having of JRPGs that have something different than your typical fantasy setting. Oh, also nice music too. I like the music in this game too. So yeah, I'm always interested in different settings other than just your typical fantasy setting. You have your behind the shoulder view right here. Which is like, some people, love it or hate it. I prefer it actually to the side view of Final Fantasy. But, yeah, anyways, overall, I mean, there are some issues with this game. Sometimes I think, yeah, with the pacing in this game, and sometimes I know it can be repetitive. But overall, I do like this game. The fact that now I get transported into the future, and anything, involving time travel and stuff, I'm always very curious about. So yeah, and then you fight some Earthbound type of monsters, let's just say. Yeah, so quirky monsters. So you fight some quirky monsters in this game as well. So I think of this like, hey, if you like some of the quirkiness of Earthbound and you like that contemporary setting, and this one is also you get transported into the future, then yeah, definitely check it out, because I think it's definitely worth it to check out. God, Heed the Call to Awaken.
God,
yeah, overall, I think this one is another really solid JRPG that we never got over here in the West. So, anyways, yeah, that's going to be my number 8 pick here. Alright, my number 7 pick is Fire Emblem Thracia 776. So, Fire Emblem, I think, is fairly well known to people who like tactical RPGs, right? So the thing is about Fire Emblem is that the very first few batch of games for the Nintendo Super Nintendo were not translated and released in the West. It wasn't until the GBA games, the Game Boy Advance games, came over. Those ones were the first ones to be released in the West. And it actually was the second Game Boy Advance game. The first one, Binding Blade, never got released in the West either. But yeah, out of all the Fire Emblem games that never got translated, I think I liked Thracia 776 the best. I mean, Genealogy of Holy War and Binding Blade are still good too, but yeah, Thracia 776, it's a really difficult game, so definitely it's not for like the faint-hearted or whatever. I mean, this is it's a brutal game actually, because like you'll have stages, and you see in this video like there's there's stages where it just takes hours and hours to beat
What?
because
Fog of War?
there's gonna be like
Yeah.
reinforcement after reinforcement after reinforcement. They'll just keep like piling and piling guys at you, and they'll just keep throwing guys at you. So it's pretty relentless. You have to be really
Don't
tough.
expect there to be Fog of War.
But this game, I mean, it rewards you because I think it's good story, solid characters, and it's a very rewarding game to play if you can be up to facing the challenge.
I'm used to playing like
So definitely one of the hardest Fire Emblem games, but also rewarding as well. So yeah, definitely recommend playing 36776. Solid characters and gameplay. And story is just challenging, but worth it. And it came out pretty late too, 2000, I think. I think it was actually some kind of I think it was like a download only release or something like that in Japan. But anyways, fan translation is available online, right? So check it out. I don't know why none of the older Fire Emblem games got an official release still. We're still waiting on that from Nintendo, I guess. But yeah, you can check it out online anytime. And number 6 is going to be Bahamut Lagoon, which came out in 1996. It's a Square Enix, actually Square game for the Super Nintendo. Because back then they were just Square. So this is a cool because it's a tactical RPG, but you control dragons. So yeah, I mean that in itself is cool, right? The story's also kind of not your typical story, I would say, because actually, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say it doesn't really go along the way you would expect for the hero. Like it's not like a typical JRPG story where the hero, rescues the girl and gets the girl. It's not like that. It's actually an atypical story. So it's pretty interesting. I think this one is, as far as untranslated titles go, I think probably one of the more better known ones. It's like Mother 3 in that sense, right? It's one of the better known untranslated titles, or not officially released titles, I should say, because they have been translated, just not officially. But yeah, I do recommend this one because it's I mean, you get to control dragons in tactical combat, and well, this is actually how it looks like, right? You have you can upgrade your dragons and stuff like that. Equip them and stuff. They look really cool. They actually have your typical Final Fantasy type of look to them as well, actually. And yeah, the combat's let's see, something like this. So you just so you'll see the Square influence in this game, right? So yeah, like you'll have a dragon do combat like this, and it'll be like the side view, like in Final Fantasy. But yeah, if you guys are interested in tactical RPGs, the Final Fantasy style combat, and being able to control badass dragons, check it out. Bahamut Lagoon. That's a good one. So number 5 is Super Shell Monster Story 2, which came out in 1996. What's cool about this one is you get to attack alongside, you get to have a party of monsters, basically fighting other monsters. So, I mean, that's cool, right? You get to recruit some monsters, fight against other monsters. And they're like these super shell monsters is basically who's on your team. So they join your group to basically save the land and everything. So anyway, I think it's a really cool story. I also like the really bright, colorful graphics in this game. Like the graphical palette of this game, the color palette of this game, I really love it. It's super vivid and colorful. So you start off as this kid, right, who's brought over across a different dimension. And you have to save the princess, of course, but in order to save the princess, you have to team up with this group of monsters, so the super shell monsters, right? So, anyways, yeah, you have to defeat, some of the evil monsters as well. So, yeah, so you have this Dragon Quest type of, behind the back type of combat system, which is fine with me.
Also, where are the other two monsters?
But yeah, what I do like about this game is you have to fight with monsters against other monsters, and the super colorful, vibrant color palette. I think that's pretty cool about this game. So, anyways, this is definitely one of my favorites so far. Super Shell Monster Story 2 for the Super Nintendo. Definitely. I think it's not quite as well known, but for sure pick up the fan translation online. I think it's worth it. Number 4 is going to be Warriors Legend of the Blue Dragon, which came out in 1997. I think this one's by Hudson Soft, actually. That's right, the creators of Bomberman. But yeah, what's cool about this one is a few things. First of all, when you talk to NPCs and you go inside a house, it's from this first-person perspective, which is cool. It's like you're talking to them directly in front of them, and you can kind of look around and talk to other people. Again, that's just cool, right? I've never seen this in any other JRPG of the time. Like, just talking to NPCs in first person like this. That's pretty cool. Otherwise, the navigation like this is just looks more like a standard JRPG. But then when you talk to NPCs, it's like from this first person view.
My birthday
also,
present.
you have this kind of monster, but I mean, is this monster human? It's actually human trapped in the body of a monster, fighting alongside with you.
we
It's like kind of making
15-year-olds
like
in
marks and
JRPGs
stuff
can pretty much
alongside
save
you.
the world.
So, anyways, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, let's just.
Oh, it's a giant bird.
Yeah, you're trying to save your sister here. And when you do combat, it's actually really interesting. So the combat is unlike that of any other RPG I played, because when you actually do combat, you're in the side perspective. You're like in a side-scroller platformer
so this becomes a
perspective, which is
side-scrolling
interesting, right? I don't know how many other
Whoa.
RPGs are like this, but yeah, and it's also turn-based at the same time. You would think that if it's a side-scrolling platformer, it's not turn-based, but no, it's turn-based. It's actually the enemies don't move unless you move, so it's almost like a roguelike in that sense. So yeah, I just found this game really interesting.
Can't go higher?
Because of these mechanics, right? Talking to the NPCs is very different than other RPGs, and these side-scrolling stages are very interesting. It's like doing battle with monsters and stuff is from a side-scrolling perspective, but it's also turn-based. It's like a turn-based side-scroller when you do combat. But then, like when you finish these stages, you're back out into this top-down RPG perspective that you normally see. So anyways, very, very unique RPGs. So I had to put Warriors, Legend of Blue Dragon in my top 4 for sure. Definitely worth a check out. So number 3 is going to be Far East of Eden Zero, part of the Tenkyo Magai series, which is unfortunately, it's a popular RPG series in Japan, but it's never really got released, or none of the, well actually maybe just a few games, but really most of these games, the Tengen Makyo games, never got translated and officially released in the West. This one is again another fan translated one because it never really came to the West. But yeah, Far East of the Eden Zero. It's called Far East of Eden. I guess is the English name for this series. But yeah, this one I really like it actually. First of all, love the colorful graphics, just like with Super Shell Monster Story 2. Really love the colorful graphics and the palette of this game. So graphically, it's great. It came out in 1995. And yeah, the combat interface is behind the shoulder, just like with Dragon Quest. Also really cool. It's just cool to see all your characters, kind of standing there, and really cool enemy design as well in this game. So yeah, I think this game overall very solid. Very polished, high production values. Love the gameplay.
The golden age of Japanese games.
The gameplay, like itself, is not like too different from other RPGs, but it's just the way, like the execution is done really well, right? Love the colorful graphics and just yeah, the colorful graphics combined with the cool enemy design, like look at that attack. Overall, just really polished. Love the music and design and everything, and yeah. It was just, I think we just, this one, what, you bitch slap him? Oh yeah, you bitch slap this little monster. Yeah, see, it's cool stuff like this. Anyways, Far East of Eden Zero. Cool characters, cool story, good graphics, solid gameplay. What can I say, right? Overall, just a really polished game with a lot of high production values for the Super Nintendo. Unfortunately, I don't know why none of the Tenkai Makyo games really got officially released over here, but they really should be, because I think that they're overall great games. High production and very well polished, so I mean, just check it out. It's available online as a fan translation. Definitely worth it. Okay, number 2, I'm gonna go with Glory of Heracles 4, Gift from the Gods. Yeah, none of the Glory of Heracles games ever got released in the West. I believe this is the last one that was released, number 4. Actually, maybe there might be another one, but this is certainly the last one for Super Nintendo. Came out in 1994. What's cool about this one, first of all, it's based in like the Greek mythology stuff, right? So you have Heracles, who is Hercules, right? Hercules is the Roman name. Heracles, the ancient Greek hero, on your team. So basically, that's really cool, and you get to fight alongside other ancient Greek famous people like Plato, for example. So that's also really cool. And yeah, combat is also done from this first-person perspective. That's in my Dragon Quest and everything. But look at this, I have Plato on my team, right? How cool is it to fight with an ancient Greek philosopher on your team? And later, Heracles actually joins your team too. So anyways, this is a really cool game, just for the setting and the characters, right? The setting and characters are really cool. And also, what's another really cool thing about this game is that
9,000 years.
yeah,
Okay,
so this is a little flashback, but after this part, you become a spirit essentially. You can take over the body of other people. So you take over the body of other NPCs, and that's also a really cool thing about this game. It's like at the beginning you start off playing as a dog, and then you can actually, whenever you see the NPC in the world right here, like here I'm playing as a shepherd. Okay, I play as a shepherd. You see another NPC in the world, and then you can, for a lot of them, you can actually just change into their body. Okay, so you can just body change into them, right? So here, I think. So like here, I meet this, I think this merchant character right here, or this little mercenary type character.
Just received a flash.
So then Dania, yeah, that's the name. You can just change into this person. Yeah, so now I can play as this NPC that I just saw.
It's interesting because once I took the body, like
I just saw this NPC at the bar and I just body changed into that person. I mean, how cool is that, right? How many RPGs where you can just change into other NPCs, like body change into them, and then play as them? Like that's a really cool mechanic. Anyways, Glory of Heracles 4. Love the setting, the characters, and the unique body change mechanic. Anyways, that's why it's number 2 on my list here. Really, really cool game. Okay, my number 1 favorite untranslated, or I should say JRPG without an official translation, is Treasure of the Rudras. Came out in 1996. It is a Square game for the Super Nintendo. We all know Square makes great RPGs for the Super Nintendo, right?
Okay, cool.
So what's cool about this one is you can choose from multiple protagonists. Initially you can choose from 3 and later 4. And it's kind of like Live Alive in that sense. You can choose between multiple, protagonists. But all these protagonists kind of, as soon as you play as one of them and you progress their story, it actually progresses all the other stories as well. So it actually simultaneously progresses all their stories. Once you get to a part where you can't go further, you switch to another protagonist and you progress it further with that one. So that's really, really cool and unique. You can choose between multiple protagonists. You have the side view combat that you might be used to if you played Final Fantasy before, because it's pretty much your Final Fantasy style combat. So the combat system, your standard run-of-the-mill Final Fantasy stuff. But I find that cool being able to play as multiple protagonists. All of them have a really interesting story that all kind of entwined together at the end. So that's really cool. Another thing about this game, which actually I didn't really demo in this video here, is the fact that you can create your own custom spells by using Japanese characters. So it has a custom spell system where you input some Japanese katakana, I think, and then however you write your katakana, it translates into a custom spell. So you essentially get to create your own spells based on what you input here. And that's another really cool thing, is the spell system. So anyways, very unique game. Graphics are great. You're talking about a late Super Nintendo game, so you got classic, 2D sprites here and artwork. Great story, great characters. Get to progress. You get to play as many characters at the same time. You have that cool custom spell system. Overall, this is a great game, and they really should. I don't know. Square has already released Trials of Mana, Live Alive, Romancing Saga. So they have a backlog of other great RPGs that I hope they will release in the West someday officially. But for now, you can play this as in a fan translation. So I highly recommend it. Treasure of the Rudras. It is a great game. Definitely, I would say right up there in the A tier, S tier of Super Nintendo RPGs. Right up there. Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Earthbound, Secret of Mana, whatever you want to call that, the top tier of Super Nintendo RPGs. You can put Treasure of the Rudras right up there.
Oh my god, it does a ton of
anyways, that's it, guys. That's my list of top 15 of my favorite JRPGs that don't have an official translation here in the West.
Shit.
For the Super Nintendo. Yeah.
No.
Let me know what you guys think, and as always, thanks for watching. Again, these are pretty cool hidden gems, I think, from my perspective. That's why I wanted to share them with you guys.
I saved.
Let me know. As always, thanks for watching.